Everybody knows the banks are a ruthless cartel of blood-sucking parasites. So why do we need them so badly? Why do we have to bail them out? Why can't we let them fail? It's because the banks, through their illegal agency, the Federal Reserve, control all money and all credit. Federal Reserve enables them to do this. The Federal Reserve is not part of the government. It is a 100% private, 100% owned by banks corporation. It does everything it does for the sake of the banks. The Federal Reserve is not there because politicians want to stimulate the economy or do anything for the public good. Anything the Federal Reserve does that might be good for the economy is a byproduct of what it's doing for the banks. The Federal Reserve is there to bail out the banks and to ensure that the banks are the only ones with a monopoly on a counterfeiting scheme, and no one else is allowed to create credit or money. This is why the government is forced to take your money and forced to take more of your money and pay back loans with interest they have to take out from the rich and the banks. The banks literally create money out of nothing and issue it as a debt with interest. The interest can't be paid back because the interest is never created. This means you have to take someone else's interest if you want to pay back your loan. Millions are mathematically certain to default, and this has been happening every 5 to 10 years since the banks took over. This ensures there will be crashes, job losses, defaults, businesses running at a loss, people with money, with savings in the stock market that aren't in on the crash, losing their fortunes. This perpetual debt causes all debts to rise: consumers, students, businesses, and governments. The only cure is to issue more debt with interest, and this causes inflation. Inflation robs people who work for money, which is most of the 1% and all of the 99%. It causes wages to not keep pace with the inflation of everything else, essentially giving everybody a pay cut. This system is only to the benefit of a few non-productive mega billionaires who do not produce anything and are not in the business of creating a product for a profit margin. This system is to enslave the economy and to enslave the world. To take away this power, give your government, your state, your country the power to issue credit in a publicly owned bank, like North Dakota's and like Germany's. It's not socialism. What we have now is socialism because we subsidize the banks. We have crony capitalism because they have a monopoly to own all of the money. Would you give Coca-Cola a monopoly to own all of the fresh water? Would you allow the mafia to appoint the judges in our criminal courts? Giving our states and our countries the right to create credit will take the monopoly away from the banks. Whether you're a progressive, Democrat, liberal, conservative, libertarian, you would want the prices of goods to drop and the wages of everyone to rise, so that business runs smoothly, so that there's enough to take care of everyone. The government will stop seizing your money with taxes, and inflation will stop rising dramatically because money will be no longer created for ridiculous things like investment schemes the banks run. If we establish a public bank, the poor will have more money, the middle class will have more money and pay less taxes and pay less in rent and less in mortgages. The rich will pay less taxes, and their businesses will never operate at a loss, forcing them to go into more debt. Investments from the middle class through pensions and the investments of millionaires will no longer crash through the repeated bubbles and crashes of the credit cycle that only a very tiny circle of billionaires who pay less than 10% in taxes profit from. And in case you happen to be a politician, wouldn't you prefer not to have the chaos of these crashes, joblessness, property decline, crime motivated by greed and poverty, and the spiraling debt in your government sector? Don't let the millions who died defending our freedoms' lives be in vain because an oligarchy is able to confuse the public and take over the democratic free press for its own selfish, illegal purposes, to create and control the quantity of money to enslave everybody in their debt.